So, I want to address a topic that I might get banned from Facebook or YouTube, whatever, from. But I want to address a topic that's been quite controversial and very much in your face for the last couple of months. And it's a topic that is being spread across the Western world, as we know it, the English-speaking world. There's a book called This Book is Gay, and it basically promotes gay sex to children. What I would consider children. Maybe you don't agree, but it's being used for very young children, in my opinion. So, I want to talk about gay sex. Yeah. And I want to talk about the darker side of gay sex, because there is a very, very dark side to gay sex. So, there's also a very dark side to same-sex relationships. I've known gay couples who were extremely violent to each other. I've known lesbian couples who were also extremely violent. And it's a very much almost non-reported, never mind underreported. It's very much not reported that domestic violence levels among same-sex couples is actually quite high. It's higher than the norm, inverted commas. So, I want to get that thing out of the way first. I can't name names, obviously, and I can't even give basic descriptions of things I've witnessed and heard about firsthand from the perpetrators and the victims, because to even mention the circumstances would give away their identity to some extent. So I want to get that out in the open. There is a lot of domestic violence among same-sex couples, gays and lesbians, and I had to research that as part of my master's, and I interviewed a lot of gay men, and not so many lesbians, but a good few lesbians, but a lot of gay men. Gay sex. What a lot of people don't realise, okay, you've got guys who class themselves as tops, which means they always penetrate. You've got guys who class themselves as bottoms, which means they always receive. And you've got guys somewhere in between. There is a lot of sexual abuse goes on. I have to be careful. I just passed by a gay couple that I know, so that's why I've turned the camera away, so that you don't see them. Yeah, you can't see them now. That's good. I've spoken to men who were essentially raped by other men. They don't go to the police to report it because they feel like they were somewhat to blame. They went on to Grindr or some other gay hookup app and were lured into a situation where they weren't comfortable and where they were often physically beaten and sexually abused. So I've spoken to those men. I've spoken to men who were on apps. Again, there's somebody passing me, so I need to be careful. Apps like Grindr, and they were lured into situations where there were a gang of guys. I'm not going to say any nationalities or religious or anything else, but there were a gang of guys waiting for them. So one guy answered the door. This is here in Cork City. One guy answered the door and he went in thinking he was away with the guy. Sorry, passing by the local restaurant. He thought he was onto a good thing, a good looking guy. He showed me the profile picture that he had saved, screenshotted, and he got beaten up. And this is in Cork City. So when you have these people, these wokest regressive liberal libtards promoting these books and promoting gay sex, just be aware that there is a much darker side to same-sex relationships and same-sex sex. Now, there are other issues. I attended Toronto Pride many years ago. Passing by people, so I need to tone down. I attended Toronto Pride many years ago as part of my research. And on my way back to my hotel one night, a good-looking 20-year-old guy started chatting me up and invited me back to his place. Only thing is, when we got back to his place, the first thing he did was a line of coke. So this is something you won't be told in This Book is Gay. But drug use is very high among the gay community. I mean, off the scales high. I'm not saying all gays do drugs. I'm just saying that there is a high level of drug usage among gays. Again, I interviewed hundreds of men and asked them about all kinds of things. And drug use is high. So this 20-year-old in Toronto invites me back to his place. Good-looking guy, as I said. The first thing he does is do a line of coke. And then he strips off. And then I find he's got a prolapsed rectum. Now, that's not a very pleasant subject to talk about. What does that mean? It basically means that he had sex so often and with such big dicks and big dildos that his ass fell out of itself. Needless to say, I went straight back to my hotel room. And that's not the first time I've encountered that. And it wasn't the last time I encountered it. So, you know, this book kind of glorifies gay sex as being something wonderful and amazing and blah-de-blah, blah-de-blah. You've got gay guys who stick a shower hose up their ass to clean out their ass before they have sex. It's called douching, right? So it's not that straightforward. If you go on to Grindr, you won't, but if you do, if you see certain terms, certain words being used by, I'm trying to keep other people out of the frame of the video. If you see the word discreet, for instance, it means the guy is married to a woman and has kids. It's as simple as that. So, and that goes on a lot in the gay community. So, apart from everything else, on top of that, Grindr is owned by a Chinese company, which effectively means it's owned by the Chinese government. So off you go and download Grindr and install it and give it access to all your contacts and your location and everything else. You're basically giving all your personal information to the Chinese government. But the big thing is, look out for the word discreet or straight acting. It usually means the man is married. I knew of a taxi man who was married with four children, who would constantly stop off to a friend's house to have sex. And that friend will be having sex with other people. So you've got the issue of sexually transmitted diseases, STDs or STIs as they're called these days. I have my first boyfriend, I won't give any details about him, but my first boyfriend, there's a neighbour passing. My first boyfriend, every single time we had sex, he gave me chlamydia. Every single time. And every time I would ask him to go see his doctor and get it cleared up, and every time he would lie to me and say he did. And like that was just course after course after course of antibiotics, which is not good for me and not good for the environment. Good for Big Pharma. That's about it. And I still say hello to him, I still meet him on the street, but I won't touch him with a 10-foot barge pole, because I know that he has never gone to his doctor and never got his chlamydia treated. I'm just people walking past me left, right and centre, so I'll cross the road to try and keep this subject up. So when you see a book that tells you this book is gay and it promotes gay sex as being something fantastic. Well, I can tell you from first-hand experience, it's not so good. It can be, but it's not so good. You've also got the issue attached to some gay bars, especially in Europe and the United States, where you've got these places called dark rooms. Now, I don't need to give you much of a description, except that a dark room is a room that's dark, and I was in the biggest dark room in Europe, which is in Madrid City, and all kinds of crazy shit went on in that dark room. All kinds. And I got robbed. So it's another issue. As I said, there's a lot of domestic violence, there's a lot of sexual abuse among gays and lesbians, there's a lot of emotional abuse, psychological abuse, especially if one of the couple is better looking or younger. The older person, the less good looking person, often feels very insecure and controls and manipulates the other person in some way. I've met hundreds and hundreds of gay men and gay couples and dozens of lesbians. And this thing about LGBT community, there is no such thing as an LGBT community. It doesn't exist. Gays and lesbians barely get along. There's a bar here in Cork, I won't name the name of the bar, but if you go to it, and it's not the one you're thinking of, but if you go to it, the lesbians all stick together by themselves, and the gays all stick together by themselves. We don't actually get along that well. So, you know, there is no LGBT community, or to get politically correct, LGBTQQIS2, whatever shite that you want to come out with. There's no such thing. I recommend that you watch Douglas Murray on YouTube, or buy his books, better still, finance the guy. And he's a gay journalist, writer, and he breaks it down and explains it very well. I forget the title of his latest book, but he explains it very well. So that's the message I want to get across to you today. There is no LGBT community, and gay sex is not without its downfalls and its dangers. And same-sex relationships most definitely have a higher rate of domestic abuse than straight relationships, normal relationships, because it is normal. Man and woman is normal. Let's be clear about that. That's the norm. That's the whole point of the human species, is to reproduce. So I won't get into the Bible. We'll do that another day. But that's today's video. Ciao.